Hello, Aquarius. Welcome to Dove and Serpent Tarot. My name is Paul. If Aquarius is your sun, moon, or rising sign, this is your tarot card reading. Remember to hit the like button, leave a comment. Consider subscribing to the channel, especially if this reading resonates with you. These readings are totally free. If there is anything you would like me to pray over, or meditate upon, or send positive energy toward, please let me know. Now, this is a general reading, so try to be open and receptive to whatever may come through during our time together. I am merely the messenger, and I ask you to connect directly with each of these cards and use your own intuition to take you beyond the details that I provide. And remember, Aquarius, that the most important part of any tarot reading is you. 5 of Pentacles. You're somebody who, I feel like you don't really like surprises, but I feel like you're kind of somebody that enjoys a process of change, you know? Like, I feel like you don't want to have to just suddenly wake up and someone says, hey, we're cleaning out the basement today. But I feel like when it's kind of when it's your plan, when it's part of your intention, I feel like you like doing the hard work of moving things around, of shifting things, of clearing things out, of changing things. So this is kind of like that little bit of joy that we get when we know we're moving. And yeah, we got to pack the boxes and we've got to get things ready. We've got to wrap up all the little, dishes and things in that silly thin paper. But we kind of like the process. It feels good to clear things out. And it may be that we're feeling the chaos right now. We're feeling like everything is in boxes and I can't even find my toothbrush, But there's something kind of nice about seeing it come together. And we know that things are going to stabilize very soon. We know that the disruption we're feeling now with the 5 of Pentacles is going to give way to something better. We know things are going to stabilize and we know we're moving up a little bit, yeah? It's when you're packing up all your personal belongings at work, not because you got fired, but because you're moving to the bigger office, And it's going to be a challenge. It's something new. It's different. It's something that's currently unstable. I feel like right now everything's up in the air. I feel like all the boxes that we've been packing, they're just it's sort of everywhere, Like, I feel like your house is in disarray a little bit. Let's put this card into a little bit of context. I do feel a tranquility here see, there's joy. There's that subtle joy, there's just pleasure in it, Maybe it's because you're moving with your family. Maybe you're moving in with somebody. Maybe you're happy that maybe you're packing somebody up. They're going to move out, I don't know. But there's a joy there, okay? Here we have a Knight of Cups, a 4 of Cups, the Lover's card. Oh, I kind of see a thing here, and we see a builder. Yeah, okay, oof. I think that you have committed to something that you feel in love with, you feel very passionate about, and while there is some kind of chaos going on right now, a lot of things are up in the air, a lot of things are changing, a lot of things are moving around, you're packing up the boxes, you feel a real love in your heart because you know that you're building the future that you want. Kind of feels like romance here, but put your pitchforks away. It does not have to be, but it kind of feels that way, doesn't it? I might venture a guess and say this is you're starting to build a life together with somebody. Okay, here we have the Fool. We have a 7 of Swords. We have another Cancer. Maybe it's a Cancer person. This is a Cancer power card. This is the Chariot, represents Cancer. And we've got the 10 of Wands. We know that this is going to be a lot of work, but even the 10 of Wands is showing partnership. It's showing kind of like now it's 2 against the world. Okay? To me, it feels like, yeah, we're getting a little more serious with our person, your significant other. Maybe maybe you are moving in with somebody, right? Or maybe this is you and your family are moving to a better place, or something is changing in your life that really is very positive, and it involves a family type thing. It is either a romantic partner, a spouse, someone you're getting serious with, or maybe it's you and your I don't know, you and your kid, or you and your sister, brother, something, moving in together and deciding to kind of, deciding to share the burden of life a little bit, okay? Because the 10 of Wands is a very cool card, because it does show that things are easier when we've got, when we're part of a team. You know, a team of two, right? 2 against the world here. I very often say, oh, the 2 of Wands. No, wait, it's a 10. Because this is saying that the burdens we carry in life are easier when we're sharing our life with somebody, okay? So whether this is like a collaborator, it could be that we decided that maybe we're getting a roommate, maybe we're moving in with somebody because they're going to help pay the bills. Maybe it's a friend or something, right? And it's like, okay, well, they're going to be able to do half the work. So the alternative to this card is that you're doing everything by yourself alone, and the weight is getting to be too much. That maybe it's just life is meant to be shared, and I want to share it, okay? Let's select the mystery card, bonus card, confirmation card. This is a random card from the Smith-Waite Tarot. This is the factor infinite and unknown. I'll set it down right here with our very own Kelly Kapoor right on top. We're not going to look at that card until the very end, but it will tie everything together and it will give us the confirmation that we need. If at any point during this message you feel like you might know what that card could be, put your prediction in the comments down below, okay? Now, as we look around the room, major arcana, yes, 1, 2, and 3, right? We have the Lovers, the Chariot, and the Fool. Okay, the Fool might be deciding to say yes to something, and perhaps take a risk, right? Confront one of our fears or challenges, and focus on building a life or building a family with somebody. They may be a Cancer person. Okay. We have a little bit of fire here at the end. We've got water, water, water. A little bit of air, of course. Very natural to have a little bit of air. And then we've got our earth cards. So I feel like you're in the middle. I almost feel like you're in the middle of sort of like packing up your stuff and putting all the dishes into the boxes and taping up the boxes and putting all your books in those little book boxes. And we're kind of thinking, am I being a fool here? Do I really want to do this? Like, maybe I shouldn't. You know, we're having a little bit of doubt, and that's okay. It's natural. We should be, right? We should be going through this with our eyes wide open and thinking of all the possibilities. Well, what if we're not compatible? What if, what if this happens? What if that happens? What if they've got some bad habits that I don't know about yet? There's a lot of things that could go wrong. What am I really getting into? How do I really feel about it? What are some of the fears I have? What are some of the questions that I have? It's good to have a little bit of this. I think that it's also, because this is the card in the position of your relationship, I think that this is really us kind of vetting the relationship. And as we're sitting here packing up the boxes, feeling really good about what we're doing, we're at the same time, we're kind of like, we're making sure we're double checking in with ourselves and thinking, is this the one for me? Is this that central Ace of Swords that I want to be on? Because there are a lot of other options here. Okay, you might be dealing with people outside of yourself, family members, other friends or something that are sort of like questioning you a little bit, like, you sure you want to do this? You sure that's a good idea? Do you really know what you're doing? And so I think that you're kind of, you're thinking it through. People may look at you and think that you're being impulsive. You know what this reminds me of? 1,000-Pound Sisters. I don't know if you watched that show, but I don't want to spoil it if you haven't seen the episode. But your family and friends may have some opinions about what you're doing right now, and it's okay to listen to them and hear what they have to say and think about it. Yeah, okay, you know what? Maybe it's a little quick. Maybe it's kind of abrupt. Maybe they're not really seeing everything that I've already been thinking about and they don't really know where I'm coming from. So it makes sense that they're going to be a little bit concerned, and that's all right. I don't mind that. I actually kind of like that. We don't have to then believe all the criticism, right? But it should invoke a little bit of thought in us where we start to say, okay, yeah, it is fast, but I've gotten to know the person a lot, and I've really thought this through, and I have a backup plan kind of thing. And we've really talked about all the different things that could happen, and we really got a good thing kind of in the works here, and I'm confident, right? Sometimes we have to sort of interrogate our own confidence just to make sure that, yep, I'm solid about this. Because with the Lover's card up above here, you're saying heck yes 1,000% to something. Whether it's a new job, a new relationship, moving in together, whether it's a new friendship, or whatever it is, a business collaboration. It could be a lot of different things. Doesn't really matter what it is. But you're somebody that when you commit to something, you give it everything you have. That 10 of Wands, we're all in, right? It's 110% effort. And you know that it's going to be a challenge. It's going to be work. Anything is. Anything worth doing is going to be hard work sometimes. But you're someone that can commit to things. And when you give your word, when you say yes, it's for life. Like this is really, it's a marriage, maybe not literally. Now, Spirit's saying that you tend to keep your old concert tickets, or you have like a binder or something full of like all the old concert tickets from every show you've been to. I'm thinking concert, I don't know, maybe movie stubs or something, but you keep those little tickets. Yeah. Anyway, and piano. Who around you plays the piano? I'm hearing the piano keys. Maybe it's just something that you just dabble in. I don't know if you're a virtuoso, but I feel like you play or something like that, or somebody close to you does. Or is learning how to play the piano. Anyway, this card is about the commitment, the choice. That's what this card is. It's called the Lovers. It doesn't have to be romance. But it's a choice. Because when we say yes to something, when we say yes to this, it means, just by definition, that I'm saying no to other things. Okay? So we have underneath the surface, we've got your Knight of Cups. And this is thinking of the future. The Knight of Cups is looking at the future and thinking, is this the situation that's going to give me the life, the feeling of life that I want? Okay? We know that we're going to have to build. We maybe are kind of thinking like, don't know exactly like what color the wallpaper would be. I don't know what kind of furniture we're going to pick out. I don't care about the furniture. What I care about is the vibe. How's the love? How's the exchange? What's the affection like? What's the feeling? Right? All the Knights of the Tarot are looking at the future. Okay? So the Knight of Pentacles is looking at literally looking at the design of something, having that vision of what are the details, what's the wallpaper, what's the furniture. The Knight of Cups, however, doesn't care really about the furniture, but saying, what is the feeling? I may not know who I am, where I am, or what I'm doing in the future, but I know how I want to feel. Right? I know what kind of emotional state I want to be in. I know that I want to have, love, commitment, affection. We kind of know that we have that goal. It's an emotional goal rather than a physical goal. Okay? I think that's very important here. Because as you're packing up all your stuff, either metaphorically or literally, we don't know exactly what the future is going to bring. We know that it's something that we're going to build together, 2 against the world, 2 here. We know it's something that's going to be a work in progress. Okay? And I think that it's important that you realize that it's sort of uncertain, that we're going to compromise on like our aesthetics, we're going to compromise on like where to put the couch or the rocking chair, what position, and where to put the TV, or do we even have a TV? And all that stuff I think is sort of a secondary consideration for you, because what matters most is how are we loving each other? What is the vibe here? What is the tone of the house, How does it feel to be here? That's what we're concerned about more than anything. Yeah. This is a card that's very giving, very emotionally expressive. I feel like you want somebody that's affectionate. You want somebody that is open and will tell you how they feel, and will be able to exchange that emotional energy in a very positive and healthy way. That's more important to you than the money green leather sofa, In the background, we've got a 4 of Cups. 4 of Cups is kind of an icy type of energy. I always feel a coldness when I'm looking at this card. Because this is kind of like saying, that you've wanted this for a long time, but that you didn't rush into it. It may be fool's rush in kind of deal over here with the Fool, but you may feel like your general energy is a little bit of a fool, right? But I feel that you've been very protective of your heart, because probably you had some relationships that didn't go so well, so you don't trust easily. And I think that we're making sure right now that our head and our heart are able to have a conversation, and that's what we're doing between these two, right? Because we've got the air and the water, and I feel like your joy and your jubilation is also kind of being put in check by your rational thoughts and by your friends and family saying, are you sure this is, have you thought about this angle? Have you thought about that angle? And I feel like you are thinking about all the different angles, and your heart and your head are having a conversation, and I think they're coming up with the answer that says, this is a good idea. Let's try. Let's do it. Because you've spent a lot of time sort of protecting your heart, and so you're not going to just jump into anything impulsively. Like, we don't see a lot of fire energy here at all. We see the 10 of Wands at the end. Of course, the Knight of Cups is a little bit of fiery water. It's a passionate water energy. But, we don't see any cards of impulsivity necessarily. So I feel like there's been a lot of time where it's like we've played it safe. This is the card of being in the storm shelter and thinking, I don't think I'm ready to go back out to sea yet. I don't think I'm ready to go back topside, But I think now you're opening up and you're ready to try again. And that's what you're doing, and that's why you're committing to this next step, whatever it might be. It doesn't have to be romance. Again, this could be a career thing. It could be your own art or creativity. It could be something else that you love, right? But this is kind of closed off, and we're saying, you know what, I've been sort of shut down for a while in this protective healing mode. I haven't been letting a lot of people in. I haven't been expressing myself. I haven't been out there sailing the seven seas, looking for my love, looking for my adventure, but I'm ready now, because now we have this 3. Now we're seeing that there is potential here, and we're sitting here kind of packing up the boxes, and we're feeling like this could be really, really good. Now I got to think some things through, and I want to check in with myself, and I want to have that conversation, that internal dialogue, a discussion between the heart and the mind as we're sitting here packing up the boxes. But there's a lot of potential here. Now in the future position, we've got our Prince of Pentacles, and that's the builder. I think you're trying to build a future with somebody or something. This is the card of union. It doesn't have to be with a person. I guess it could be with an idea. It could be that you're taking a risk on your own business again or something like this, right? Your mom saying, all right, I'm going to do that YouTube thing again. I'm going to give it another go, something like this. But we know that we're going to build a future here. And that means, obviously, doing the work. To build, right? You need the nails, you need the hammer, you need the hard hat, the tool belt, and you gotta do the work, And so we don't know exactly what it's going to look like. Probably we don't know, again, the wallpaper, the furniture, we don't know what it's going to look like. We know how we want it to feel. So we know what kind of a vibe we're building, but we don't necessarily have all the color palette picked out. We don't have the paint picked out yet. Okay. Now, Path of the Serpent, we're going to talk about these cards. By the way, if you haven't subscribed to the channel yet, please do. These readings are totally free, and I really need your help to get back in the algorithm. Views have been kind of dipping down the last couple of months, and I want to be able to keep doing these free readings, and I want to be here for as long as you'll have me. So if you appreciate the channel, hit the like button, leave a comment, subscribe. That's perfect, and I appreciate you. Your general energy is the Fool, because, well, the Fool's starting a new phase of life, starting a new adventure. Saying, you know what, the old life, I'm kind of packing up the old life, and I'm moving on to the new life, right? And the Fool kind of travels light. So it's kind of like maybe we're getting rid of a lot of extra stuff. It's like if you're moving in with somebody, you don't need 2 living room sets. You don't need 2 bedroom sets. You don't need 2 of everything, right? So we're sort of either we're getting rid of stuff, we're selling stuff, we're donating things, maybe we're having a garage sale, and we're sort of lightening the load a little bit, and we're sort of in that liminal space. We're in that in-between phase between kind of detaching from the old way of doing things into this new adventure that's before us. And I think part of us feels like, oh, gosh, I can't believe, like, it feels like I'm a teenager and I'm just being, being wild and reckless, and not really thinking of consequences. But it kind of makes us feel youthful, regardless of how old we are. When we do this kind of thing, it's like, well, this is for young people. That's what kids do. But here I am at our age, whatever, starting this new adventure, kind of starting a new phase of life. It's weird, And so it makes sense that we might doubt a little bit. We might feel in our energy that we're being a little bit foolish. But that's okay. A touch of foolishness feels good. It feels like playfulness. It feels like, what have I really got to lose? If it doesn't work out, it doesn't work out. But I got a good feeling about this one. Yeah, I got a good feeling about it. Now, of course, we talked about the Seven of Swords in your environment. That is, the friends and family maybe having some things to say, trying to have that conversation with you. And I think that sparks, a little bit of conversation inside of yourself where you're sort of having that discussion with your heart here to make sure that this is the right commitment for yourself. Spirit's asking me, where's the screwdriver? I don't know, maybe you're taking stuff apart and you kind of lost the screwdriver. Anyway, we can skip over the Seven of Swords again. We don't have to talk about it too much. It's important that this card's in the position of the relationship, which means that we're having the conversation. We're looking at the different angles of things, not just with our friends and family, not just with our own heart and mind, but with the other person as well. That we have thought this through just right. We've looked at the different angles of it, and I think we're still certain, this Ace of Swords, we're still certain about it, okay? The Chariot card is sort of the obstacle, the fear, the worry, the concern. And maybe it's the concern about, am I too old to go on a new adventure? Like we're looking at our old car. I used to drive a 2007 Honda Fit, big bright orange car. We just recently got a new vehicle, new to us. Something more safer and better on gas and things. But the little Honda Fit, was pretty old, pretty beaten down, pretty run down. And I remember when I drove it across country from California to where we live now in the North Midwest area, Chicago kind of area. And I drove it here to be with my wife. She's over at Ula Tea Leaf Readings, right? Lenore, go say hi if you haven't been over there yet. And I was looking at the car and I was thinking, I don't know if she's going to make it. Packed it full of all my stuff. And I said, I don't know if this car's going to make it. The 1,500 miles or whatever it was. But it did, obviously. I'm here. It didn't break down. Overheated a few times, but we made it. But that's kind of what this card is like. That's what our fear is. The fear is like, what if I really just don't have what it takes? What if I'm too set in my ways to make it work? What if I'm not fortified enough? What if I'm not strong enough? What if my vehicle, my physical vehicle, just can't start this right now, And I think that this is something that we have to overcome. Because I feel like this choice of yours, while it does feel like it's going to be a lot of hard work, we're going to have to build a new life, we're going to have to figure things out, we're going to have to harmonize in this new environment, it's ultimately going to lead to an easier life for you. Okay? Because I feel like we're sharing the burden of life with somebody else, we're sharing the joy, but we're also sharing the workload, And so I feel like if we can just, if we can make it here, things are going to be a lot better for us. But it's just that it's the initial journey. It's like, well, it's like for me, it's like I know that once I got here, that my life would get better, right? I knew that I would be happy. I knew that it would be challenging and there'd be struggles, but life was going to get better. This is where I'm meant to go. But the process of driving and packing up all my stuff and then driving from there to here, that was a struggle, okay? But that's a small segment of this larger path for you. Okay, the most difficult thing is going to be the first steps here. So the Chariot is also a card of family. Okay, it's also a card of kind of a domestic situation. And I think that we just have these natural fears of like, kind of, doing this new thing. It's kind of scary. Maybe we're used to being alone for a long time, and so now it's suddenly we're going to be in a different way of life, and it's a little bit nerve-wracking. Yeah. But with the Ten of Wands at the end, this feels like it is a wonderful partnership, even if it's between you and a friend, if it's just getting a roommate, if this is a new job, a new career choice, maybe you're making a big career change or something, right? You're never too old to sort of start another journey. And it's going to be one that is a lot of work, but a lot of reward as well. I want to see that reward in the mystery card. Let this be the Empress or the Ten of Cups or something along those lines, right? If you have a prediction, put it in the comments. Let's see what we have. The Four of Pentacles. Well, it's good because we start with the Five of Pentacles. Anytime we get a 5, we start looking for the 4. So the 5 is the chaos. Everything is up in the air. Boxes are everywhere. Everything is just in cartons and bags and boxes, and oh gosh. That's going to stabilize. That is going to be calmed down very soon. That is just that's the kind of the initial rush and all the busyness and all the chaos of the beginning. That's going to settle down into more stable kind of journey, right? This card is also kind of shows somebody clinging to something. And I kind of feel that's a reference here too. Sometimes we're scared to leave our old life behind. This is like you're clinging to your bedroom set, but they're clinging to their bedroom set. So what do? Right? One of these bedroom sets we got to sell or donate, right? Or have the garage sale. So it's kind of like there are certain aspects of your life that you don't want to part with. Certain things like, that you're not going to get to do anymore. It's a sacrifice that we're willing to make, something we have to let go of in order to embrace the new life. Okay? So this is kind of a card that says, we're going to have to make that compromise. If we really want this, we really care about it, there are things we're going to have to be okay with letting go of. Not just physical objects, but habits or routines or lifestyle things or whatever it might be. Okay? It's worth it to let those things go. They're insignificant in the grand scheme of things compared to the journey that you're going to be on. It's little things that don't really mean that much, but sometimes when we're on the edge of a very big journey, we sort of cling to whatever we might have that can sort of, that can hold us back a little bit because there's a little bit of fear. There necessarily needs to be a little bit. If there wasn't, I'd start to wonder about you, So I think this is perfect. I really do. Now we're going to do an extended reading. We're going to do an I Ching hexagram. We're going to do some oracle cards. There's a link in the corner. There's a link down below in the video description. New readings for Aquarius Thursdays and Sundays. Be sure to watch both readings. Subscribe to the channel if you haven't yet. Leave a comment and let me know where in the world you're watching from. I want you to know that you're the most important part of Dove and Serpent Tarot. I thank you and I love you. And we're all in this together.